We're in progress with Carla Melo, filmmaker, writer, director, and animator of La Pera. Carla, thank you for being on the show. How are you feeling?
Good. Thank you
Good.
for the invitation.
Absolutely. I watched La Pera. It's a tough film to watch, emotionally. Uh, it's good, but it's emotionally hard to watch, and there's so many reasons for that. And one of the reasons is probably because I have a 4-year-old daughter. Now, it's really a lovely film, and I think a place to start would be to give kind of the context of the film. So, do you want to take a stab at giving us a storyline, and you can introduce yourself too, however you'd like?
Yes, yes. I'm Carla, and I did La Perra because my dog, female dog, just died when I did it like some years ago, and I just came back from I passed from a veterinary, and I remembered and that she hated that. And I today I'm very touched because I didn't did that way before. I mean, the last time it was when I was with her. So right now, okay, doesn't matter. But yes, it's the story about my dog, and she died when I was 26 years old, more or less. And she arrived to my life when I was 11,
Oh my
and my
God.
parents just divorced, and my mom to replace something or fill the emptiness, and she gave us a dog to me and my brother,
Yeah.
and she was the best thing, dog, animal, person, mother in my life. And when my dog was, I mean, she was like a bridge between my mother and me, because for me it was very hard to hug my mom at that time. But yes, I think it was the idea came from the death of my dog, but also about my mother, and it was a way to tell something about this relationship, daughter and mother, and without talking. I mean, from the sides, not directly. And I think I didn't know very well. I what I really want to do was talk about my mother, so I talk about my dog.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. Thanks for sharing that. I can definitely relate. I had a dog. She was, a true
Mm.
love, and I made a movie about her too.
Okay.
Um, and so one of the things that I noticed about the film is how well written it was. It's very well written
Mhm.
and without any words. So the scenes and the shots and the actions tie together like a story, but it is a story, but they tie together almost as a narrative does, like a narration would. And from the very opening of the movie where the little bird baby clings to the leg so desperately, and then it doesn't want to let go and it climbs up, and then it kind of gets confused. The dog gets pulled in the window, and next thing you know, it's the dog that's the mother. And that kind of confusion. Those moments that you have in there are very well scripted, and the whole thing's like that. And so when I'm watching it, it's almost like it's talking to me, right? There's
Mhm.
there's not a lot of, ambiguity. It's very clear in its presentation of the information that create a story. And so there's a very strong narrative ability. So that said, the first question to play it forward is really, well, where did the inspiration, that germinal idea, come from? And you've sort of told us, you've said, well, it comes from the passing of your second mother, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and you wanted to, it sounds like, create honor her, and you also wanted to explore the relationship that you had with your first mother. Is that correct? And would you add or change or anything to that?
Yeah, is this, but I think I have the producers that helped me a lot writing. So I think their lives was also in the film. And the person, the editor, is my boyfriend. So he was very close also to the death of my dog and my life. And so in the editing, there is also the narrative way.
Absolutely. Yeah, huge.
And yes, he comes from the cinema, live action cinema, and he doesn't know how to do an animation, the editor. So he was like, why you don't try this in slow motion and the camera from above and all the places? And I was like, but it's an animation, it's impossible. And he pushed me to try things in animation as it was live action. And I think that helped a lot to build the story. And I
Mm.
have the story very inside of me. And I think producers and editor and the editor helped me to tell that story, because I'm very close to that.
Yeah.
So it was very hard to take a distance to tell the story. And also, I had a little fight, a nice fight with the producers, because it's Franco, and he's a director from live action, and he wanted the characters to talk, and I was like, no, I want animal characters, and we fight in this, and I think we arrived in a equilibrio, a balance between the human and the animals to connect with the characters. So I think this helped to also to tell a good, I mean, to understand, because it's really hard to understand with all these watercolors and transformations.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's great you had a strong team around you to help with the narrative. It does take many people and a great, set of people that can give you feedback and help you with the structure. Yeah, the story is very personal and intimate. I think it's a common story. It's a common story, especially for young mothers who move on from relationships. And it's a common story for, the 50% or more of Americans that are getting divorced, and the rest of the world is somewhere around that number. I don't know how many people in Colombia. Do you happen to know the statistic?
No, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm sure it's not small.
Yeah,
And
but we're a Catholic country, so maybe it's a little
better
bit
than
different.
America.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
It's very common. It's very common for one reason or another, whether it's the father leaves or they break up or whatever might be, or there's just some other distraction. There's some other major distraction in the parent's life that do not allow it to care for a child to the degree that a child needs caring, especially in those formative years. And the mother seeks her own desires and needs, natural animalistic needs. But those needs are prioritized over the child. And so the child gets lost and kind of recreates the same pattern. So that's a common
Yeah.
story, whether that's, we're
Mhm.
talking about a single family or uh, uh, still two parent family, or, and whatever the case may be, that's a common story in families. Um, and that really gets us to the second question, is the meaning and the message. What is it that you felt now? You've written it, you've edited it, you knew the story you wanted to tell, you've told the story. Now you got to tell me, what is the story? What is the story to you? What is the meaning and message of the story?
I don't know. It was very, very difficult to me to show it. It was premiering in Cannes, in the Festival of Cannes, in a huge screen with a lot of people. And I think it was the first time I realized it was a sad story, because in my head it was a very funny story, and with the editor we laughed a lot. And then it came out and we were like, no, it's very sad. And I didn't realize that. So, and it was the first time I saw my dog dying in the film, because that before it was like I'm making a film and I didn't understand what that was really sad. So I cry a lot in this screening. Um, and each time I watch the film, I don't know. I mean, I have others. I see something different each time. Last time I was a little bit. I don't know. I think it's very rough. You say with my mom, because it's not easy to watch this film for her, and I think it's a little bit uh, immature, the the decision I made, as I was a girl who said like I want to tell something to my mom. I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts about the film. I don't have the distance enough yet, but I think when you make a film, you leave a. I'm sorry, my English. How do you say when someone dies?
Uh,
Duelo. When someone
Mourning,
dies, you
mourning,
yes,
you're in
mourning.
mourning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had that with my film, like a separation, and the people see a different film than me. Some people see something about prostitution. I don't see that because it's my mom and I know very well the story, but it's okay also because they have their own story. And I think this is great about animation because there is not a message like a square message like you have to understand this, and you can see whatever you want, and whatever it's inside from your life can go outside and make you cry or laugh, or I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's great that you had that experience with it, and that's, the important thing is as an artist, and you produce something, you're in one place with it, and then when you see your work as a product, you're in another place with it, and the goal is that it is a cathartic process. There's a healing process in making art for the art maker. And ultimately, there is some sort of enlightenment process for the viewer, right? So it can span from entertainment to
Yeah.
enlightenment and entertainment, something, I've gained something. And oftentimes, what that is that you gain when it is closer to enlightenment and the movie stays with you, it's meaning. You've gained meaning. You've gained
Mhm.
some insight into your own humanity. And the
Yeah.
narrative structure of the film is such that there is a story. There's a story, and that story is is making meaning. It's making meaning of life, and it's conveying some sort of um, message inherently to it. And we can all make different messages. That's fine. In this story, you have, the beginning, the middle, and the end. You have the clinging of a child needing attention. You have the
Mhm.
separation of a mother ripping and kind of confusing the child and going away to seek her own needs. Then you have the maturing child go off and explore her own sexuality, her own identity, humanity, whatever it is she's exploring, right? That's, in this case, it's sexuality. It's not so important what she's exploring, but she's leaving,
Yeah.
and she finds her own kind of discontent with the relationship that she finds after the dog and the mother. And then she remembers the dog and the purity of that relationship. And she goes back to
Mhm.
seek the purity of that relationship and finds her mother in a different stage of her life where she no longer is compelled by those forces, those internal animal forces. And yet there's this animal who is the dog who has the force of being a mother. So also an animal force. So, and the child is older and she could understand her mother better and the decisions she made. Not necessarily her mother made good or bad decisions. She made painful decisions. Her mother made painful decisions. And so they had repercussions. They had repercussions for the child. They had repercussions for the mother. Um, and the child made her decisions. So seeing it in that context from the narrative, beginning, middle, end, there's a message. And the message to me is, woo! It is when we are motivated and ruled by our desires without some level of intervention, without some level of higher wisdom, we create, in a Buddhist sense, karma. We create karma, which is defined as shit. We create shit for other people to go through, right? And ourselves. So, and that shit is painful. It's it's painful. So if I don't want my daughter to go through that, I wouldn't want you to go through that pain. I wouldn't want anybody to go through that pain. So in order to avoid that pain that we saw depicted in your movie, what do we do? That's the question, right? What do we do? How do we live a more enlightened, compassionate?
There is something very social in when I was writing this, and I thought a lot about my school when I was a child, and I remember one time I was in I don't know, normally in Colombia the school, they have uniforms. Here in my school we didn't have, and that was a problem because my mother, I don't know, she dressed me with, she's a musician, and she's from Switzerland, and I was very different from the how people in Colombia dressed. So one time I got tennis and a skirt. How do you say? Yes, like
a tennis skirt.
And yes, and people start screaming like Loa, and like, I don't know, like we were very mean between each other, between women in the school. So then I arrived to my house and I was very mean with my mother. But also we watch a lot of telenovelas, like in TV, the Colombian and Mexican. And I think this was very machista and create something in my head because I was not allowed to watch telenovelas. So I arrived from school and I was watching this, and woman crying, and the woman is the la femme fatale and everything. So I think I had a construction about a woman, and my mother left my father, and he was like the good person and the woman is the bad person. So I think it was how I stir my mom through the society that made me hate her a little bit. But she was free to live her life and to be a mother with all the humanity and the life. I don't know, it's the life. So I think this can change a little bit if we see the world in a different, like the woman is not the bad person. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the point of movies, and that's the point of art, is to have a place to introspect. Like, how are we shaped by our experience in our home? How are we shaped by society's experience? And what are we doing? And it sounds like, being able to write this movie and look at it from a different perspective, a perspective of a narrator, and allowed you to get a better perspective of your mother, a different point of view, a more mature point of view.
Sorry?
A more mature point of view.
Yes.
The process of writing this film and making the movie gave you a more mature point of view, insight into your mom.
But I don't know. Yes, now, yes, it's true. A little, a lot, because I was very scared to show this to my mom, and that was in December, some month ago,
Oh my
and
God.
everybody was crying, even me, that I watched the film like 1,000 times, and she was laughing because I was very uncomfortable in the sex scenes. And I was next to her and I started to laugh. And she was like, no, don't worry, don't worry. And I don't know, she was very strange, but I think she put
Mm.
something and she didn't understand. And she found it very beautiful and everything, but she didn't recognize very many scenes, and I think it's okay. And yes, but then in that time, in that moment, I understood. It's mature now, but when I was writing, I still have a little immature thing, like, my mom did this to me, and she was mean with my father, and this kind of things. So now I'm writing something more mature, I hope. Yes.
Carla, I love it. I think it's awesome. I mean, you know, it's such a powerful thing to be able to be in a room with your mother and show that to her, to sit next to her. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really a great relationship that you guys have. No matter what still might be the blockers for your mom to see the movie, um, it's a wonderful, huge step to be able to be in the same room and watch it and show it and for yourself and your own personal growth. And that's really the
Yeah.
last question of Play It Forward is how do you think you have been changed as a filmmaker since making this movie? How have you been, forget filmmaker, I'm sorry, I screwed up my question. How have you been personally changed?
I did this when I was 28 and I finished in my 30s. So before the 30s. But when I was 30, right now, when I in my birthday, it was very, I don't know, like I realized that I'm not a child. I mean, I'm not a child a long time ago, but I think it was something like a broken thing, but a good broken thing. But I don't know. But also, I start to see my mom like and not like I don't know how to say, like a woman, but a old woman, and she start to finish something as my dog and also as my grandmother, and I understand her, and I think the body of a woman, it's it's a very special thing because it has so many transformation, and it's so also as men, but I don't know. I think I realized something, but I have to think a little bit more.
All right, we'll talk again.
But yes, I think when I start to write the film, it was a long time ago, and it was not so long ago, but it feels, yes, I did a jump, something happened, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You know, I think I think you explained it very well.
Yeah, more or less,
I
but
think you
yes.
explained it very well.
Yeah.
Carla Melo, writer, director, the movie is La Pera, and we'll throw out, you know, all the links to your work. You know, it's a very courageous film, a very courageous filmmaker. We look forward to seeing more of your films. Thank you for being on the show.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. All right, everybody, we're out. By Carla. There you go. That wave. Thank you so much.